5,000 new emergency bomb shelters will be created in Moscow. The city has just given architects the task of coming up with the designs. So let's speak to our correspondent Ivor Bennett to get a few more details on this. Ivor, why do the authorities want these shelters building? That's the big question.
Why? Well, it's because there are only enough shelters at the moment in the city to house and shelter around half the city's population, which, compared to other places in the world, isn't out of the ordinary. That figure is sort of 50% coverage. For example, Switzerland is the only country where there are enough shelters for the entire country's population. But Moscow wants to build another 5,000 shelters, not necessarily because it's expecting nuclear war. We shouldn't be running for cover or anything like that. It's a precaution, because in the last 20 years, this area has been very underdeveloped. The current shelters, a lot of them are outdated and unprepared for this situation. A lot of them have been privatised, for example, and are now restaurants or bars. The Moscow metro system, that was specifically built, its station specifically built very deep underground, so they could double as air raid shelters. For example, the station I'm standing outside right now, Mayakovskaya station, that did just that during the Second World War. And in 1943, it famously was the site where Stalin addressed party leaders and ordinary Muscovites in a Communist Party meeting during the Second World War. But these shelters, 5,000 will be built because basically there aren't enough at the moment, and in the next 2 years the plans will be developed for their construction.
Okay, so we've got the time frame, but Ivor, where are they going to be located and what will they look like? Well, they'll actually be quite small, hence the high number of them, 5,000, and they'll be dotted around all over the city, because the metro system at the moment, in the outskirts especially, is quite far away from where a lot of people live, and the authorities say that in the event of a nuclear outbreak, people need to reach one of these shelters within a matter of minutes. So they'll be basically where people congregate, so underneath apartment blocks, underneath shopping centres, sports complexes, parks, places like that. And they won't be very deep, not as deep as the metro system, around 10 or 15 metres deep underground. And there hasn't been any mention of cost yet, but a prototype is being developed at the moment. The architects have been tasked with that, and so that this uniform prototype will be developed, and that apparently will speed up production by 10 to 15%.
In a letter dated 22 January 1870, Mazzini wrote to Pike. Now, Albert Pike is this high mason who wrote the manual, if you like, of Scottish Freemasonry. He said the following: "We must allow all of the federations to continue just as they are. It must appear as things are as they were in the beginning, with their systems, their central authorities, and diverse modes of correspondence between high grades of the same right, organized as they are at present, but we must create a super right, which will remain unknown, to which we will call those Masons of high degree, whom we shall select. With regard to our brothers in Masonry, these men must be pledged to the strictest secrecy. Through this supreme right we will govern all Freemasonry, which will become the one international center, the more powerful because its direction will be unknown." Now, Albert Pike wrote a letter to Mazzini, and that was dated August 15, 1871, in which he propagated that there should be a world order, a one order where all nations are under the control of one central organization. And in order to achieve this, they planned, and there are numerous quotes for this, so I've put a number on the screen, because some will say, I don't trust this, I don't trust that, I don't trust the other. Here are references down there, there are references up there, there will be references in other slides, so it comes from different sources. He said, and this was, by the way, on display in the British Museum, and could be seen there until it was taken away. The First World War, to overthrow the power of the Tzars in Russia, protector of orthodoxy, and bring about an atheistic communistic state. Did that happen? Yes. Now that was written long before this event. Long before this event. This was written in 1871, but this war broke out in 1914. The Second World War, that's also written long before the event. To originate between Great Britain and Germany, to strengthen communism as antithesis to the Judeo-Christian culture, and bring about a Zionist state in Israel. Did it achieve this objective? Yes. In fact, after this war, Israel, in its present form, was reinstated under the protection of Britain. And then, interestingly enough, a Third World War, a Middle Eastern war involving Judaism and Islam and spreading internationally. That's fascinating. Is that on the cards, or what do you think?